So hi everybody and welcome back to C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 342 and we continue again with our move constructors, and we already started to talk about the examples here below. We copied this one to the compiler explorer, or you use an IDE, and we already talked about here the first line and started to talk about the second line, and here I made a big mistake again. So what is this big mistake what I made? I told you that the move constructor here, which was called, comes from the temporary object which we have created here. So I told you we create here a temporary object, that is right. Then I said, okay, after we created here this temporary object, which is an R value, we pass it here to the parameter list. And we are creating here an object A. And this is wrong. So let's watch this a little bit closer and see what is wrong there. Let's start here with the temporary object again. When we create a temporary object, we call the constructor. So here we have a constructor call. That is right. Then we have created this temporary object here. It is an R value. That is right. Then we pass it here to the function pass by value. That is right. Then here the parameter list must create a local variable A, and here comes the problem. Normally we see here a named variable. Named variable means all time we create this named variable because we can see it, we have here it, and then we use it here later in the function body. And the problem here is the compiler is not creating here this named variable. And that sounds already a little bit strange because the chain is anyhow broken. Normally we need here the local named variable A so that we can use it here in the function body. And interesting is, this was never created, so this move constructor here is not used from here to here, but instead the move constructor is called, but it is called from here, from the return value A, and there. That sounds all a little bit strange. It is strange, and let's clarify this a little bit as far as we can. But this goes now a little bit to intermediate C++ stuff, which I will not dive too much into it, but I will show you the mistake and that is enough. So perhaps we understand this a little bit and we can see and understand this in future a little bit more. Okay, let's watch this again a little bit in detail. So we have created here a temporary object. We passed it here by value, and normally we expect that the function here creates a named variable called A because we want to use it later here in the function body. That sounds very logical and straightforward. But the problem is the compiler has internally optimization, and in this case it is not called the return value optimization and also not called the named return value optimization, which many are referring when they see something like that, because this will not apply here. I will show this later, but first of all, what happens here? When you call a little bit a high-level view, a simplified view, when you call a function, for example here the main is calling anyhow this function. Also it's a caller and creates here for this function internally storage, which means stack space. And then this space will be used later by this function. And this function says then, okay, wait a minute. So you pass something in which is A, and I'm returning just this A. So the compiler says that internally, don't create A at all. I will just use from this point here, from the return value, I just call here a move. And interesting is also, it will move this A here directly in the destination folder for this here, for A. So later we will also see no call from here to here. That is a little bit high level view, but I want to show you also a little bit intermediate stuff. And intermediate stuff means also we go now to the compiler and see how he's doing that. So that means we have to dive here to the assembly a little bit, but not too much. I just show you this little bit. So first of all, let's start here down. So when I go here, is this right? Yeah, you can see we are here in main. Here is the main. Okay. When I hover my mouse over this one here, some blocks are highlighted. Okay. And interesting is here, when I hover here, we have here the start block. This is just the initialize block. Okay. Then we have here the first line block. Okay, this one is more or less creating now the first line. I'm not diving into and explain this, just so that you can see a little bit something. And now comes the important block, this one here. So this, you can see when I hover my mouse over this one, then this block is highlighted. And the only important part here in the first thing is, let's skip all the strange symbols, is here. You can, this one you should realize, this one is a constructor call. All right, so here we have our first constructor call. Right now we don't see really what this is and this, but doesn't matter. The constructor is here called. So when I create this temporary object, this will create indeed the constructor. Okay, this one we have it. But then we have strange things happening here later. So we see here there is created space, right? Space, storage space for the return values later. For example, when I call later this function here, because you can see this f von a, this f von a is just the function here, which we will call, this a is here just skip, this is the name, this is the type which will be called later. You can see space was already anyhow created before we go here. So with other words, the main here knows already the space where it will place this result of this FA called. Okay, let's go a little bit there and see what happens more. Here it jumps. We go now to the function. We have now jumped to the function. Let's see if I can jump here directly. Yes, I can jump here to the function. This is now the function block. You can see here I am and I can hover over it. It highlights again the parts. It starts from here to here. Again, we skip all the most things. The only important part is right now I told you that A1 is not created. How can we see that? First of all, when we have here a A1 creation, we should have a move call. Actually, we have a move call. Interesting. You could even see that. You can see this one here. Here's a call, and this one is the move constructor. So we have a move call. The problem is this is not here, the place here. This move constructor here, what we see now, is this return value is called with a move, because there is no optimization right now. I have also highlighted here a compiler flag, no optimization, and so with other words, there's no return value optimization, no named return value optimization in this case, and that's why a compiler will call here a move. So let me show you this one as well. Named return value optimization would be this. It's not happening because we have a function parameter that was that a is here in function parameter, it counts not. This a must be created here within this block, then the named return value optimization would count. And then we have also the normal. There is also a normal return value optimization that counts also not, because that would be a temporary object, and this is not a temporary object because we have here named variable. This is not a temporary object, so this counts as well not. And so in the end, here we can see indeed, and you can highlight this one. This is very nice. You can hover with your mouse over it and then see the block which is then really used. So you can see here indeed the return A is calling a move constructor, and this makes logical here again not really sense, because the compiler will now use that what I showed you before. What I have showed you before, that was here in main. Here this this space, this allocated space from the caller, and it will just use that. And we can later see that this one is just passed in as used here. Let's see if we can, right, I have to scroll down here a little bit. Then we are here again. You can see here is this block. Here was the function call, fcall, and here, this is, you can see when I go over it, here is all time the space that was first created, and later this space is used again, which was created here by the caller. And when we go back here, this one here is now using this space here. Internally, also the compiler is using that. And I'm not diving too much into this one, because this one we will repeat again when we go to intermediate C++. We learn assembly, and then we go step by step and analyzing this in and out. What you should know about this is, here in this case, the constructor is called here, and then it is passed by value here. Here, normally we would expect to create a object. This is not happening because internally the compiler is handling the function with the allocated, pre-allocated space, and is just returning then here directly. It's directly returning the result into this pre-allocated space in it, and with that it is skipping the point here to create here object. This A is not created. Here it is created. Move constructor is called here, and this move constructor is just called then not to give it back here. It is called just to give it back here in this pre-allocated space, and it will construct it here for A1 later. But yeah, this one we have really watched here step by step to understand this in full detail. Just keep it now like this and research this on your own a little bit, and you will understand this much better than what I explained here. Okay, that's enough for this video. If you have any questions, like all time, write in the comment section. See you in the next video. Bye and good luck.